The deep well was silent, but beneath the surface, a dog's frantic struggle echoed in desperation. She had been fighting for hours, trying to stay afloat in the cold, murky water, her strength waning with every minute. Her eyes, once filled with hope, were now clouded with exhaustion. But as she clung to the rough walls, there was one desperate wish in her heart: to be saved. Just when all hope seemed lost, a villager walking by the well noticed the struggling dog. Without hesitation, he made a frantic call to the local animal rescue helpline. Little did the dog know, her wish was about to come true, and this story would end in an inspiring act of kindness. But would help arrive in time to save her life? The clock was ticking, and every second mattered. Hi, everyone. Welcome to the AI Film City Animal Rescue Storytelling Channel. Today, I'm excited to share a new story with you. Please relax and immerse yourself in the story. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share. The call came in just as the sun began to set, casting long shadows over the village. The villager's voice was shaky, filled with urgency and concern. There's a dog. She's trapped in a well, and she's barely holding on. On the other end of the line, the rescue team sprang into action. This wasn't their first call, but each one carried the weight of life and death. As the team gathered their gear, the villager continued, describing the scene in vivid detail. The well was old, deep, and surrounded by rough stones. The dog had likely been swimming for hours, her legs trembling with exhaustion as she clung to the cold stone walls. Her cries, though faint, carried the unmistakable sound of desperation. The rescue team knew time was against them. Every minute mattered. The well was far from their base, but they moved swiftly, fueled by the urgency of the situation. Could they reach her before it was too late? As the rescue team raced through the village's narrow paths, the reality of the situation became clear. The villager who had spotted the dog had done all he could. He had thrown down a rope, hoping the dog could cling to it, but her strength was fading fast. Every now and then, she would slip under the water, only to resurface, gasping for breath. Her eyes darted around, searching for a way out, but there was none. The team arrived at the scene to find a small crowd had gathered, watching anxiously. The well was deeper than expected, and the dog was barely visible, her head bobbing in and out of the water. The rescuer's heart sank, but there was no time for hesitation. With ropes, harnesses, and determination, one of the rescuers was lowered into the well. The temperature dropped as he descended, and he could feel the cold water splash against his legs. But all he could focus on was the dog, her silent plea for help, her last of strength holding on by a thread. The rescue would be tricky. The dog's paws were raw from scratching against the walls, and her body trembled from exhaustion. But the rescuer's hands were steady as he secured her, whispering words of comfort even though he knew she couldn't understand. As the rescuer reached the struggling dog, she barely had the energy to react. Her body was limp, her breathing shallow, and her eyes, once filled with fear, now seemed resigned. But the rescuer wasn't giving up. Gently, he wrapped a harness around her chest, securing her tightly. For a moment, the dog didn't move, as if she didn't understand that help had finally come. With a nod to his team above, the rope began to pull them both up, inch by inch. The crowd above held their breath, watching the rope tighten and sway. The dog remained still, too weak to resist, but as the light from above grew brighter, something inside her sparked, a tiny glimmer of hope. The rescuers cheered as the dog's head emerged from the well. She was safe, but not yet out of danger. Her fur was matted, her paws bleeding, and her body weak from the hours of struggle. But she was alive. That was what mattered. Once out of the well, the dog collapsed into the arms of her rescuers, her body trembling with exhaustion. But as they wrapped her in a warm blanket and gently carried her to the waiting vehicle, a small wag of her tail showed that her spirit was still there, fighting. Back at the shelter, the team worked quickly to warm her up, clean her wounds, and get her the care she desperately needed. The hours of swimming had taken their toll, but with every passing minute, her breathing steadied, and the life began to return to her eyes. It was during this recovery that the team noticed something extraordinary. Despite her ordeal, the dog showed a remarkable resilience. She leaned into the touch of her caregivers, her eyes filled with gratitude. She knew she had been saved. But the story didn't end there. A few days later, the villager who had first spotted her came to visit. He had been thinking about her nonstop, wondering how she was recovering. When their eyes met again, there was no hesitation. He knew he had to give her a forever home. She had fought so hard to live, and now she would never be forgotten. The once drowning dog was now in her new home, surrounded by love and care. Her days of struggling in the well were behind her, and she was finally able to enjoy the simple pleasures of life. Playing in the yard, going for walks, and curling up beside her new owner at night. But something remarkable happened in the weeks that followed. It was as if the dog knew that she had been given a second chance at life, and she embraced every moment with a newfound joy. Her bond with the villager grew stronger each day, and her presence brought him immense happiness. One day, as they sat together under the warm sun, the dog looked up at her owner with eyes full of gratitude. It was as if she was saying, "Thank you for saving me." And in that moment, both the dog and her owner knew that their lives had changed forever, for the better. If this heartwarming rescue touched you, imagine the countless other animals still fighting for their lives. You can make a difference. Support our mission to save more animals like this brave dog by donating, volunteering, or simply sharing this video. Every act of kindness counts and helps us continue these life-saving rescues. Follow us for more inspiring stories of hope, survival, and the unbreakable bond between humans and animals. Together, we can be the voice for the voiceless,